Hello. Today I'm gonna dive into a very meaty topic around SOPs, which stands for Standard Operating Procedure. So if you have a remote team and there are so many processes and different ways to fulfill, which is really your unique secret sauce or your unique recipe, and you want your team to be able to fulfill the same way irrespective. That's when, the first pillar, which I always think is super foundational for you to have the same experience or the same output, is building out solid SOPs. And I want to dive in and talk about all of the different components to think about when you're building this in to your business. So with that, brace yourself. It's gonna be surface level, it's gonna get deeper. So if you do have any questions throughout, please leave comments and I'll be happy to, respond and help you out. So these are the few things I want to talk to you about today. SOP, we already covered that it stands for Standard Operating Procedure. Now I want to get into what, components of a good SOP, like what makes a good recipe. So your team is going to have different types of people, and your team is also going to have people with different learning abilities. So what I mean by that is some are visual learners, some like to read text, some like to watch videos. So I'm also going to show you how to cater to those. So let's dive in. So this is something I learned from a mentor called Alison Caffrey, and she explained these few components which made a lot of sense to me. So let me go through it. So the first thing is, and please remember when you're going through this, all of this is software agnostic. Right now, this is built on Google Docs, and what I'm going to show you is built on Google Sheets, but you could do the same on Notion. You could do the same on Airtable. So don't get hung up on what to use. The only reason my suggestion to use Google Docs or Google Sheets is because you could share it easily with your whole team. And like you can have virtual assistants who probably don't have, who don't know a certain platform. So the learning curve is lesser. So with that being shared, so person responsible. So here you could definitely share the role instead of you getting to the name of the person, unless you think, okay, let's add the name. Because if that person leaves, you have to come back in and edit all of these SOPs. So keep in mind when you're building this out to try to keep as little maintenance as possible. So with that person, the role could be tech VA. It could be whoever, right? And then this is the title of the SOP. And this is the department. So is this the marketing department? Is the sales department? When was this last edited, added, whatever? So we have those in place. So this resource section is really like your recipe, your ingredients list. So when you're going to cook a certain dish, you don't start cooking and then say, hey, I don't like, say you're making pasta. You're not going to say, hey, I don't have cheese. Hey, I don't have the sauce. What you're first going to do is you're going to make your list. You're going to see if you have everything, and then you're going to start cooking, right? So this is the resource section. So think of this as the person reading this should have all of these before they even get into working on, the task. So with that being said, it could be login access that they would need. It could be files that they would need. It could be really anything which is going to help them build the SOP in a strong way. So we also have a Loom walkthrough. I'll just go through that in a moment. Purpose statement is really giving context as to why this SOP exists. A lot of times we don't want our team members to feel like, hey, this is the way we do it, just go ahead and do it. You want people to understand why something exists, if it exists. So that way the purpose statement answers that question. And then what we do have is we have the description of what has to be done for each step. And this is where the text of it would go in, and this is where the image would go in. Remember how I said previously, different team members learn differently. So and again, you could go how far you want to go with this, with having text as well as an image, as well as in the resources, we also have a Loom video. Let me show you what a completed SOP looks like as well. And this is phase one of the SOP. Like if you want them to start with a certain software and then move to a certain software to finish it, like this is however long you want it to be. And what's more important than that is completion filters. So completion filters is sort of like saying, hey, when is this SOP completed? Because you want the end result of each of your different team members the same. So it's sort of like a checklist saying, hey, this SOP is completed when this is done, when A is done, when B is done, when C is done. So right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a completed SOP so you see what that looks like. Okay, so we have, remember how I told you about the resources section? So you have the video walkthrough, and then here I'm saying how to use Loom for recording videos. And to execute this task, you must have Loom Chrome extension installed. You must ensure that it is connected to your microphone and camera. And this SOP will help you understand how to record a video using Loom. And in here, you see how there's an arrow for each of these different steps. Add Loom extension. Pin it so that you can view it in the plugin bar. So, and then it goes on to each single step. And at the end of it, what you do have is you have shortcuts. Okay, this I wanted to add, and then you have completion filters. By the end of this SOP, you will have the Loom Chrome extension added to your Chrome browser. You will have pinned the Chrome extension so you can see it in the plugin bar. You will create a Loom account by following the steps. You will know how to record a video on Loom. So these are the completion filters. So whoever, irrespective, they're starting knowing or not knowing fully, they get to know the purpose of it. And by the end of it, they all have the same checklist to complete. So with that being said, here there is a video of how to do it. And, it's about, I think, 2 minutes, 15 seconds. And then these are screenshots from that video, which also have been taken as images. So this looks time consuming. I completely get it. So for the very beginning, try to get the videos in. And as we go deeper into this training, you'll understand how to, what works best for your business and how to simplify that. So with that, let me just move on to the next thing, which is, so we finished SOP elements. Let's put check mark here. Okay, SOP hygiene. So when you are recording an SOP, right? Like you don't want to jump, you don't want to have 15 tabs open and you don't want to start one thing, start doing something else and, go back. It shouldn't be disjointed. Like you should have it be a seamless experience. So when you're doing an SOP, have only the tabs that you need for the SOP and go sequentially. Say, hey, this is where you're going to start. This is the next step. This is the next step. Like you want people to be able to go through that SOP without having to burn their cognitive capacity because it should be easy to follow. So that is supremely important. Secondly, try to keep your SOPs, think of it as Lego blocks. Like you don't want to have a 1 hour, 2 hour long SOP video. Believe me, no one's going to consume it. No one's going to watch it. You want your SOPs to be easy to consume, easy to follow, easy to do. And which is why I always suggest record in 5 to 7 minutes increments. So even if you have a supremely long process, break that down. Like for onboarding your client, your step 1 could be send out contract. Step 2 could be schedule an onboarding call. Step 3 could be, send out inform the team about the new client. So whatever is your steps, it could be done as one separate Lego piece, only because let's say if something changes, right? You want to be able to insert steps easily between this supremely long process, as well as delete steps as needed. So if you record a 1 hour long video, first of all, it does not serve its utility. Second of all, each time you change it, it's harder to maintain, and you're probably going to record it once. You're going to be like, I don't like doing SOPs, and you're going to come back to square one. So you don't want to do that. So that is SOP hygiene. And when is the best time to record an SOP? So this is the third biggest objection, which I see a lot of clients have, which is I don't have time to record SOPs. And it's true, it does take time, but the easiest and the best way to record an SOP is when you're actually doing it. Like don't carve out time in your day and say, hey, today I'm going to record 7 SOPs. While you're doing the process, just capture it in the Loom and do it sequentially. The only thing you have to remember is don't have your 100 tabs open. And you should also talk while you're doing the process because that's going to make it better for your team members to get it. So that way, when you're talking and you're recording while you're doing the task, at the most, you're going to spend a little bit longer. It's not going to be taking 1 hour away from each day to build this out. So the best time to build out and record an SOP is while you're actually doing the task. And believe me, it's going to save you so much time. And it's a muscle that you'll develop that over time, you're going to be like, hey, this is a new process. Let me just record it. And what that's going to do is it's going to make your team an SOP centric business. And it's not going to be one person has the knowledge and the others don't know what to do if this person does not come in, right? So it's supremely important for the transparency of each process so that you're not people dependent and your processes are strong and the output is the same. So that is everything about, components of a good SOP recipe. Now comes the next problem. Once you start recording SOPs, you're going to be like, hey, how do I keep this organized? This gets messy and, I want to keep this organized. And this is where I'm going to introduce you to the playbook. And in here, I also want to maintenance of the playbook. Okay, I think that's the next point. Sorry. So what is the playbook? The playbook really is, again, don't get stuck up with the platform. Get integrated with the process. So what I think is supremely key is for you to name the SOP, and whatever you name the SOP here should be similar to the name you have here. So it's easy for you to find SOPs in Loom videos. And this is a link of the SOP. So this is usually the full finished document rather than it being a Loom video. So let me show you. These are all the things that are done in a hurry. So you see Loom videos are the first one to get recorded. So we always add those. But depending on your team and your team structure, like you can see how far you want to go. If you just want to do a Loom, you can, but I still do recommend having the purpose at the description of the Loom video and the completion filters. So let me show you maybe anything on the text side of it. Like this one, right? Like this one has everything. So this one has the video walkthrough and this one has screenshots as well and the steps. The link to the SOP, and if you have a video, I would also suggest the next step, and you're going to create the document, use the document hyperlink instead of the video hyperlink. Okay, and the content type, in here we have different content types. It could be SOP, it could be a resource, it could be workflow, it could be policy, it could be template. SOP is the way to do it. I think there are descriptions of what each of these stand here. SOP is one specific task related document that covers the how to for that item. And workflow is multiple SOPs combined together would be a workflow. Reference doc could be anything that the client has, which could be brand guide, which could be their logo. Policy is more internal, like how do you take your time off and things like that. Template is email templates and things like that, which you've created once and you can reuse. So depending on that, like you can keep that organized. And role responsible is like who's responsible for the specific SOP. Then we have status. And this is where it gets interesting. And I have updated this. So this is submitted. So usually when we put in the video here, we would say submitted. And the systems builder would come in and then go ahead and create the SOP from that. So there is ready to document. Like we also want to list out all of the different SOPs that we want to build out. And then, just type out all of the different SOPs and then, I'm ready to start documenting all of this. And then once you have it, you move it to submitted and requires update. I'm going to get to the maintenance of it. And once the video, if you want the doc is what the completion step looks like, then mark that as complete only when the document is done. Okay, so this is all of that. And I'll tell you how I changed this for now. And you obviously have to adapt to this. However, it works for you. So in this, what we now have is we have video complete, video and text complete, video, text, and images complete. So I'm basically broken that same thing into 3 stages. And I'm also in here, you're going to see something called Brain Bank and Systems Builder. That's the term I introduce you here. So yeah, maintenance of the playbook, that is when you use the status and start maintaining, like, hey, come in frequently to be like, hey, which of these, like you can always do a Control F and say requires update. And you can search, all sheets and find. And you can look for all the different requires update and it would hyperlink that to you so you can see it. And over time, as your team gets, comfortable with this and whoever's going to be responsible for keeping the team accountable, the project manager for the playbook is going to go to each of the different brain banks to keep updating this. So so one of the biggest problems that I see is people build out SOPs, but they don't maintain it. And anything that you build should have a component of maintenance thought out into it. And if you don't do that, it's just gonna get messy, processes change, it's just gonna be difficult. So with that being said, I would not suggest you, the business owner, to be the person responsible of getting this. It should be somebody else on your team. If you are a really small team and you want to start off doing that, that's okay. But eventually it has to be, transitioned out to somebody else. So that's how maintenance becomes easy, because now we're not looking at it being one person's SOP. It's really organizing all of these different SOPs into a playbook and maintaining it really, right? So now we spoke about the playbook. Let me mark the check mark there. A little bit of dopamine hit there. Okay, we spoke about maintenance of the playbook. Okay, this is a very interesting thing which I thought would really help you. One is called the systems builder, and one person is called the brain bank. So one person on your team will always keep the team, like sort of like the project manager for the entire playbook. They're going to keep the team accountable for creating SOPs, for updating SOPs, for maintaining SOPs. And the brain bank is the person who knows how to do it. So the way they do it is they would jump on a call with them and say, hey, what are the SOPs that we need to record? And make a list of all of the different things here. And once they have that, they're then going to mark this as whatever category and then, ready to document. And that way, that brain bank now knows, okay, these are the SOPs I've got to record. And when they don't submit, they keep them accountable. They're going to be like, hey, you said you're going to submit this. Where is this at? Yada, yada, yada. And get all of those in. And when you have these two people, the brain bank and the systems builder, you are going to have one person who's constantly managing your playbook. And this is great because you're going to spend lesser time training each new team member. It could always be like, hey, here's the way to do this. Here's the SOP for it. Hey, here's something we keep doing. Here's what we should document. So, you stop becoming like, let me show you how to do it versus, hey, do we have an SOP for this? So it's a little bit of a mindset shift, right? So we completed this. Great. Okay. So now let's just talk about the tools to simplify the build out of an SOP. SOP. So one is Scribe How. One is Komodo Text. And the last one I would suggest is Loom. Okay, so Scribe How is really an extension. And the only difference with Scribe is when you click on Scribe and you want to start capture, it basically starts capturing every place that you start clicking and writing those into steps. And you can always say complete capture. Let me show you what this looks like. And it has everything. So what I would again suggest is, this is add description is the purpose of this SOP. And then what I like about Scribe How is you can then add header. And in here you can say resources. And I like to use tip. And here I say Loom walkthrough. You need login info, whatever, right? So I had all of that here, and then the steps get captured. Right now, I don't know why it's not showing you the image, maybe because I moved through it very quickly, but it would also show you an image and it captures where you're clicking on the screen. So let me see if I can show you a Scribe How SOP. There you go. Okay. So you see the video walk, and in here you can see that it's the same thing. I have the purpose here. I have the completion filters here. And this SOP is completed when so-and-so is done. And in here you have the steps of as you're doing each of these different elements. So it captures it while you're recording, but it doesn't have the video. It only does this, and you ultimately have to have somebody edit it out. So sometimes to do this, I don't know if it's the best way, have Scribe How, like I would click on recording the Loom video, I'd also click on Scribe How at the same time. So the clicks are captured, and then the Loom video could just be edited and be put into Scribe How. And then there is Komodo Dex. What I like about Komodo Dex is it captures your recording and the guide at the same time. Like think about Loom and Scribe How having a kid, that's really Komodo Dex. So So if I were to show you, like you can have guides and you can have videos. So let's see if this has yeah, this has the guide and this is also the video. And you can also have open guides page, the same thing. You click on Komodo Decks, you start recording it. And once you start recording it, like you can see, both of it. So that's how you use ScribeHow, that's how you use Komodo Decks. And lastly, Loom. I want to show you Loom. So Loom has this cool thing, which is now Loom AI. So if I were to go to loom.com and, click on any video, right? Like, let's say I'm troubleshooting. Okay, let's say I'm troubleshooting this. What I can do is go in here and say, write a document. And it's generating it, and that's going to have the step-by-step way of kind of doing it. So there you go. It has the objective. You can go through it to see if this is great for purpose. And then it has the key steps. And then it has link to Loom video. And it doesn't have completion filter, so you could edit that out. Copy this text, add it to a Google Doc, and hyperlink it to your playbook. So those are the three different tools that I would recommend if you want to get a little more advanced with how to kind of do each of these different tools. Loom. So with that being said, I do want to share that this is a new change in the way you think about running your business if you don't record SOPs. And you could also be like, hey, where do I start? Where do I end? I just gave you everything in this video. And if you do have any questions, go ahead and leave comments and I'll be happy to get back to you. And yeah, please start building SOPs because you want to build a process dependent business and not rely on people totally. So, I mean, people is the next step, but you know what I mean, right? So I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you very much. Have a great day.